Welcome to Psychological Explorations with Dr. Michael Axelman.
And Daniela.
And John.
Today we're going to focus on a paper by Phyllis Greenacre entitled Penis Awe and its relation to penis envy. Phyllis Greenacre had a long-standing practice in New York City. She practiced and supervised into her 90s. And she was involved with NIPSI, the New York Psychoanalytic Society and Institute, for decades. And we're exploring one of her pioneering papers on her understanding of expanding this topic of penis envy to include a broader topic of penis awe. So Freud introduces this topic of penis envy, and it's a lightning rod. It's probably the one point that the feminist critique of psychoanalysis focuses on first. And one of the early feminist critiques of penis envy was put forth by Karen Horney, who offers an alternative notion of what she refers to as womb envy, and the envy that men have about the female capacity to become pregnant and to give birth. So whether the womb envy kind of develops from like a visual impact of seeing a woman pregnant, or is it more of just an ideation of a capacity? We can explore these topics more fully as well. So Phyllis Greenacre begins with this contrast of the notion of envy versus awe, and we'll begin there today. Envy, chagrin, or discontent at the excellence of another, resentful, begrudging. Freud linked penis envy to the resultant wish that she were or might become a boy. In envy, there is more or less covetousness, a focused disappointment and resentment at not having. This wish to kind of have themselves, and this disappointment and resentment at not having it. Awe, in contrast, is defined as solemn and reverential wonder, tinged with latent fear, inspired by what is sublime and majestic in nature, or as dread mingled with veneration, as a divine being. So awe comes with a much different feeling, right? In awe, there is intense admiration, a feeling of strangeness, with little sense of possibility of possession, and sometimes an element of fear. Very strong aggressive feelings are aroused, but suspended and diffuse, and may be converted presently into worshipful submission, verging on religious, or into states of considerable excitement. So this notion of awe and envy are being linked now to these very early impressions in development, where a child becomes aware of their own body and the separateness of their body, and then have an impression in the world that's likely very stimulating, that marks this contrast between what a child experiences in their body and what they witness in an adult body. And how does this impression impact self-awareness, development, identity formation? We'll go into this a little bit deeper as we move forward today. contributing towards the development of attitudes towards self and mate. It seems likely that penis awe and penis envy exist in varying relations to each other in very many girls, and that the particular nature of the interrelation is of considerable import in special attitudes of women towards herself and her mate. The previous literature on penis envy regarded as being particularly strong, okay, between the ages of 3 to 5, with perhaps the peak of envy during the phallic phase when the girl is especially aware of the relative inadequacy of the clitoral miniature compared to the greater importance of the phallus. Penis awe, okay, the effect. So what is it that brings this about, right? It is observation of the organ. And most typically, right, it's the organ of the father. And this shows up in two ways, right? Where it's episodic and rare and kind of unplanned for, as opposed to a family that has kind of more of a nudist bent or a nudist value, where the adults are frequently unclothed in the home, okay, where this observation of the organ of the father is near constant. The second effect is the primal scene, okay? And this usually does not include the observation of the phallus, but the two parents, the mother and the father, and in the activity of coitus. With this comes this exciting sense, this excitement, along with this fear of punishment. The child's in a passive position. Frightened participation increases the drama and the fascination. So we have 1, the observation of the father, 2, the primal scene, and then 3, another form of exposure is exhibitionistic exposure. A strong sense of drama and passive participation without excitement associated with the primal scene. This is frequently a stranger and at times with preliminary seduction involved. And finally, there's the chance encounter with older boys or men urinating or masturbating. And this is influenced by development and situational factors that are occurring at this time. So we have this developmental factor, this time factor. The full effect of the observation can be felt by the girl only after there is some separateness of the self, some definite appreciation of her own body. That is certainly not before the last half of the second year, when talking and walking have become fairly well established. Awareness becomes increasingly sharpened up to 4 or 5 years of age, when the increase of genital feelings in the little girl is the factor in the focusing of interest and comparison. So the observation of the erection. If, however, the little girl sees the adult penis when urinating, or especially when the organ's in a state of tumescence or becoming tumescent, then the effect is more dramatic, and the penis may be perceived as something of extraordinary fascination and impressive awesomeness. The girl, impressed with the difference, and may feel herself not so much castrated as fatefully and hopelessly different. Fear compounded with admiration, which is the essence of awe. Fear compounded with admiration, which is the essence of awe, together with extreme feelings of inadequacy. So we can see this very strong imprinting on the body of this visual impression, and how it kind of stimulates so much reflection in the child, and kind of self-observation related to comparison. Incredibly stimulating for many children when they're in this particular state of awareness. So observation of coitus when there is some awareness of coitus. In this case, the girl child may develop an active terror of the organ based on account of its size and the fear that to be penetrated would be to split or torn apart by it. So this notion of kind of seeing the self in a very damaged way from this awareness of coitus, bringing again this experiencing and projecting oneself into that scene, and imagining the consequences of these events. The word that she uses is active terror, which is a very strong phrase. So one of the key contributions of Greenacre's paper on penis awe is these classifications of types and how they influence mate selection. And she talks about idealization as one of the key features. And I quote, "The awe remains dominant when this penis awe is established early in development. The awe remains dominant, expressed as a demanding attitude towards the opposite sex. The chosen man must be a spectacularly big man in some respects, or present this illusion. Penis envy of the more ordinary sort is never felt, but is turned rather into contempt, disappointment, or an attitude of humor or ridicule towards the man who represents the brother or contemporary. It is in any event a period of beginning ideal formation. These illusory ideals or ambitions may conceivably take the place of what otherwise would have been the basis for illusory penis formation." So when penis awe gets established early, okay, and the mate then becomes idealized as Superman, as greater than human, Freud speaks about how the superego is the heir to the Oedipal complex. And we can see how idealization of the father fits in here developmentally with respect to penis awe and its shaping on a female developmental pathway. So this other classification that Greenacre refers to as kind of a form of sex magic, where the exciting experience of seeing the erected adult penis has occurred rather early and under markedly arousing circumstances, as with the repeated primal scenes, or in a child with rather poor ego organization. There may then be not only a taking in of the organ with the eyes, a kind of visual oral incorporation, but a generalized skin, muscle, and total body exciting as well, which so floods the body that the resultant aggressive excitement, although intense, is held in check, even to a numbing extent, somewhat comparable to Lot's wife, who turned to stone on looking at the burning city. The experience transcends reality, where 3 to 4-year-old girl children see a grown man masturbate, the impression is of something magic or something supernatural. So at this time, we can see the entire body engaged in this stimulating experience, okay? This visual impression creates such a sense of stimulation within, and it is then held in check and made numb. So the child walks around in this state that's not integrated. And from this, they move into this magical, supernatural way of thinking about it. Reality testing is impaired during this time. And we can see how the awe here leads right into this magical sense. And we have also penis envy established prior to seeing the adult penis. Okay, this classification, if, however, the little girl is first initiated to the anatomical differences between sexes by seeing the organs of a little boy, and penis envy is established before there is any experience of seeing an adult penis, direct competitiveness with castrative desires may develop and become enormously reinforced by the later awareness of the adult penis. Focused aggression then remains strong, and the girl is more likely to become a woman who is competitive with all men in a particularly intense way. And I think most people have met women who have this approach towards being intensely competitive with men and are drawn towards male groups and for reaching high states of achievement in these male groups in highly competitive ways. Greenacre believes there's this developmental loading from this state of penis envy, okay, that leads one into that competitive, combative stance with men that's, of course, driven unconsciously. So in summary, how particular impressions of the penis at specific times in development shape the life course. Greenacre adds penis awe to our understanding of the Freudian concept of penis envy, examines how these impressions may shape personality and relational dynamics, examines how these impressions may influence mate selection and attitude towards sex and men more generally. And in this paper, Greenacre hints at how men may be influenced by this very same dynamic. And she gives this example from Norway, where the culture encourages little boys to wearing bathing trunks when they go into the hot tub bathing with naked older men. And this pattern of asking them to wear bathing trunks, right, is to help them not feel shame in this comparison. So we see that there are kind of cultural institutions that develop with boys around this very topic. And we can imagine how boys at this very same stage can go through this comparative process, either with an older brother or with a father or with another adult, and be thrust into these feelings of shame and inadequacy in comparison. And then how this impacts the boy's own developmental pathway towards feeling okay with their body or not okay with their body, and either being able to take pride or shame in genital aspects. Thank you for participating and listening to our discussion and presentation on penis awe and its relation to penis envy by Phyllis Greenacre. Please join us for part 2 as we begin a deeper discussion on this topic with Daniela and John. Thank you.